Originally, I started in cars, automotive, was my brothers, my oldest two brothers are both mechanics. They own a shop. They've always car heads, and by the transient properties, I am now a car head. So my first car, I mean, would you even consider it my first car, was my brother's M5. I drove it to high school and back, and everyone thought it was like the biggest thing ever. My first actual car was my Legacy GT. It is, in essence, an STI motor, but with a smaller, turbo, and it's automatic. I liked it. I liked it so much. It was my first car, and I wanted it to be mine, so I did everything imaginable to it. I wanted to do the stuff that no one's ever done. I was able to, first person in the US to put paddle shifters on it, on an 05 Legacy, which was unheard of. I custom made some stuff. I imported bumpers from Japan. I basically started a whole import-export business at the end of the day, if you think about it. This car, how it came into my possession, is another story altogether, because it was never my car in the first place. It was originally my brother's car. When he grew up, he was in the Fast and Furious days. He saw the Blob by STI in the movies, he saw it in magazines, he saw it on the internet. He always wanted this car because what it represented was being fast. The wing was obnoxious, the hood scoop was obnoxious. That's what makes an STI. It was dynoed on a Mustang dyno to do 375 and 385 torque at 21 psi. This is on pump 93. It was tuned by Mikey STI and EFI Logistics, which was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and it's coming about time I need to get tuned again. It has a 20G turbo, much larger than the stock one, has 850cc injectors, has an inlet, has all the supporting modifications in terms of fuel. So you're talking fuel pump, the regulator is still stock. But when it comes to other stuff like the clutch, it's a stage 3 South Bend clutch. I do daily drive this car about 40 miles to 60 miles a day to be at school or somewhere else on the highway. I decided let me make a track toy at the same time. So I have 27mm sway bar in the front with the end links, and then in the back I have a 22mm to get rid of some of that understeer issues this car has. And with that, like, it's just one thing after another, and it ended up literally changing almost every bushing imaginable in this car, and every mount in this car to either group N bushings from the actual Subaru rally program, and or Carboy or White Line. Almost everything's been changed at the end of the day. Suspension wise, you could say it's not coilovers. I'm not completely against the whole coilover movement. But I daily the car, so I had a company in Canada named Feel create fixed perch struts, which are 30-way adjustable for my car. They are good enough for me to do some light duty track, but they're also good enough for me to drive the car every day. Coilovers are nice, but at the end of the day, if you're not spending $3,000–4,000 on a set of KWs or Buddy Clubs or Bilsteins, you're not gonna get what you want out of it. That being said, it's a nice daily, but it's also not a nice daily at the same time. You know, I consider myself a masochist, so even doing everything to the car to make it so unbearable every day where my back hurts. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a car that I like driving. It's not the fastest in our stable at the house or anything else, and not the fastest I've driven, but it is a fun car, and it's just the more you push it, the more it gives you. So you can take it to the track, and the more you give it gas, the more you abuse it, it's just gonna stick and stick and stick. A lot of people don't realize going to the track is very expensive. If you want to go to the track right, meaning you can bring your stock car to the track, but you can't push it. You're gonna push it, you're gonna cook your brakes. In my car, brake setup wise, you're talking, I have the DOT 4, the blue brake fluid that's high temp, so it doesn't boil as easy. My front brake setup has been changed too. It's no longer the 4-piston Brembos, the gold ones, the iconic ones for the STIs. I have Corvette Z06 6-piston calipers in the front now with the J-hook calipers to dissipate some of the heat a little bit, and they look cool as well, because that's what that is at the end of the day. It's all about looking cool. And also for my brake pads, I run I guess a fairly aggressive brake pad in the front and the back too, the Ferrado 2500s. They're pretty aggressive from the street. They do squeal. I mean, it's a race car. I've never driven a stock STI. I've driven a stock WRX, and that thing doesn't make power to like 6,000 RPM or something like that. But for this STI, with the 375 horse and the 385 torque, 21 PSI, that thing comes in heavy at like 4,000 and just takes you, just slingshots you. And especially in a cool day like this, 70 degrees outside, it's gonna take you for a ride. But at the same time, you can't underestimate the car. It's 4-wheel drive, but this thing will get away from you. It will slide. And especially, I mean, this is not a very common modification, but a lot of STI owners do, is that my DCCD, the differential controller for these STIs, especially the 04 is not as advanced as the newer ones. I have an aftermarket controller as well for it, especially if I'm doing track, light duty track, or if I'm in the snow or something like that. With this controller, I can customize the map. I can program how the differential engages, from what speed. If the brakes are locking up, I can tell it to let off. I can tell it to put more. I can control every single thing about the differential. I can even make it do donuts in just like turning the wheel really hard and hitting the gas. It'll just spin in circles. That's with the differential controller. But that being said, that's how easy it is, because this car does not. The 04 STIs did not come with traction control, and they came with limited safety features, so you can slide into a wall. I've slid with the car before, and you know, got into the oh crap moments, and it's crazy because you don't expect that from a 4-wheel drive car. You'll expect it from a front-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive car that you can lose control, but you don't expect it from a 4-wheel drive. When you do lose control, you just goes numb.
Alright guys, so we're in the driver's seat. We got the boy Z with us in the passenger seat. It's my first time driving this car, my first time actually driving an all-wheel drive car, all-wheel drive turbo car for that matter, with this much horsepower. I drove Pat's car, it was a FRS, and it was turbo, but it was automatic, and it's a rear-wheel drive car, as you guys know. So I'm not really nervous. I'm actually more excited than anything. I'm not gonna push it too much. I'm not gonna talk too much about all the modifications and shit like that, because as you guys know, Z already went over that stuff. I'm just gonna give you guys my, I guess you can say my reaction to the car, and
your take on the build.
Yeah, exactly. And Z's gonna be sitting here, so he's also gonna give some input. I'm gonna ask him questions if I have any questions or anything like that. Yeah. So it should be fun. We're gonna not really push it. You know, it's not my car. I don't feel comfortable pushing somebody else's car like that to, you know, to its limits. So we're gonna take it easy, but I'm still gonna give you guys my honest feedback and how the car drives. So let's get to it, man.
Make sure you're comfortable. That's the main thing.
Too far back. It's stiff, bro.
So STIs have a quicker steering rack, but they're much stiffer too. At least you got the clutch part now.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely stiff, heavy, like it's a heavy clutch.
Yeah.
But it's not that hard to engage.
Yeah. It's a south bend clutch, so they're really nice for daily.
Oh, okay, it does catch right away though. Like I said, I'm not pushing it too much. I'm just right now it's my first time driving it, so I want to get a feel for it a little bit. Yo, this thing is quick, bro. Oh my god.
They're upgraded, so it gets rid of some of the typical synchro and the STI gear problems, because they have a problem with grinding gear sometimes. So they make a lot of noise, the upgraded ones.
Yeah,
so that's the only problem.
So that noise you guys hear, like he said, it's coming from that.
The transmission.
The trans, yeah. You said the tuner tuned it so that it doesn't make full.
So yeah, it's boost by gear. So
that's the term.
21 pounds is a lot of boost for the first two gears, especially the first two gears. You could strip your gears out like that. So he only has it tuned to 18 psi the first two, and then from the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, they hit 21 pounds full boost.
Oh my god! Yeah, I was not ready for that. What the hell? Jesus Christ, man, this thing tugs. So one thing that I do notice, you know, since I drive a daily a rear-wheel drive car, it feels like in a rear-wheel drive car, it feels like you're being pushed.
Yeah, this is pulling you along.
Yeah, you feel like you're being pulled, but at the same time, you feel like somebody's like pushing you.
Yeah. Because primarily this is a rear-wheel drive bias car. I mean, you're gonna feel that more in the corners than anything else. So,
Yeah.
But like when the differential is in automatic mode, it puts it in mostly the rear-wheel drive position.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely a different feeling for me.
The more you push it, the more it'll give you. But you also gotta be careful, because it is a thin line between pushing it and then beating on it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. So that's gonna be it for the video. Huge shout out to our boy Z for letting me test drive the car and doing the interview. Also, really big shout out to my boy Jason for helping us out with this video. Couldn't have done it without him. So we're just gonna leave it at that. Z, you have anything else you want to add?
I mean, this is like something I wanted to share. It's not a lot of car YouTubers. Thankfully Bobby took on this little mini project. They don't show like what the thought behind the project is, like how everyone wants to do it, and what they make of the project really. So like it's a good thing to get that out there, and perhaps people will start doing it more. Like the theory and the method behind the madness. I mean, that is the most important part, isn't it? But other than that, there's not much else to say.
Yeah, so like I said, big shout out to Z, man. He came up with this idea. It was pretty dope. I like the format of the way that we did this. It was improvised, like we just decided let's go out and do it.
Yeah, we just met up one day and did it.
And we did it. So it's not gonna be perfect, but it was definitely a lot of fun, and it was pretty cool. Hopefully we can do some more of these in the future. But like I said, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video.